Was it recorded?
I'm sorry?
Was it recorded in any way? Tape recorder running?
I don't think so.
The troopers were taking notes, obviously?
I believe so.
During your conversation with, and I'm jumping around a bit, so I apologize. During your conversation or conversations with Mr. Brennan and the members of the DA's office in preparation for your testimony, were any of those interviews recorded?
No.
Was anybody taking notes?
No.
No, none of the DAs were actually taking notes, the ADAs?
I didn't look around the table to see if anyone was taking notes, but I didn't see them taking notes.
No pads and pens on the table?
There was a lot of stuff on the table, but I didn't see anybody taking notes.
Okay. You received a phone call just before that interview started at 5:25 p.m., correct?
Around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Is this the night of the 29th, you mean?
This is the night of, I'm jumping back to the night of the 29th.
Yeah, I'm not following you very well.
That's okay. On the 29th,
Yeah.
when you were interviewed around 5:25 p.m., maybe just a little bit before that,
Yeah.
you received a phone call just before that, correct?
I do not know.
Isn't it true that Jen McCabe called you and spoke to you just before that?
I spoke to Jen McCabe the entire day.
Okay. Including just before that interview?
I don't know.
Did you tell Jen McCabe that you were about to be interviewed?
No.
Did you tell her at some point did you text her and tell her that the officers had arrived?
I don't think so.
Did she text you back and say, call me right after?
I don't know.
Okay. During the course of that interview, when the incident was still pretty fresh in your mind, you indicated that at about 5 a.m. you got a call from Karen Reed indicating that John never came home and that she was worried, correct?
Correct.
You also indicated that she was worried that John may be walking and may have gotten hit by a plow. You relayed that to the officers.
Yes.
You indicated that you met up with Karen Reed and Jennifer McCabe at Jennifer McCabe's house, and Karen was hysterical and worried that something had happened to John.
Yes.
You also indicated that once you were at 34 Fairview, once you all had made your way over to 34 Fairview, Karen saw John and ran to him, although you and Jennifer didn't see him initially, correct?
That's correct.
You said that Karen was repeating the phrase, is he dead, over and over. Is that right?
That is correct.
You also indicated that she said that if anything happened to John, she'd kill herself, correct?
That's what she said to me.
Object.
So the objection sustained.
Did you indicate at any time, I'm sorry, let me ask it a different way. Did either of the troopers indicate to you after your initial interview that if there was anything further that you could recall that would be useful, please provide it? Please give it to at that time.
I don't know.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to look at that January 29th report?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Show the second page of that report, January 29th. And there, I put a little mark by paragraph 5. You can take a look at that.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
During this interview with Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico, they indicated after you gave your statement that if you wish to provide anything additional, now's the time to do it.
Objection.
Is that right?
Sustained.
Were you informed that you were limited on time in that interview? Meaning, we got to get this done, we're leaving, we're out of time.
No.
They didn't cut you off, correct?
No.
They didn't tell you that they had a limited amount of information that they wanted and then they were just going to leave, correct?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
As a matter of fact, they told you that anything you wanted to provide to them, provide it. Give them as much detail as you could, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. You just read the last statement that these troopers indicated, correct? If there's anything further she could recall that would be useful, please provide that information.
Object.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Having looked at the
No,
report,
no, bring it to her and show it to her again.
she's just, it's the same thing that I just showed her. Having looked at the report, does that refresh your recollection about what Trooper Dunn and DeChico told you at the end of the interview?
I don't recall. It's not refreshing. I'm not remembering it. Even reading it, I'm not remembering it.
I see. Okay, fair enough. So as you sit here, the details about what you told or what those two officers told you are not fresh in your mind, and nothing's refreshing your recollection about that.
Right.
Okay. But you do remember the basics of what I just described in that conversation with those two troopers.
I mean, they asked me what happened. I told them, but I was also in shock.
You never said during the course of that interview that my client called you at 5 o'clock in the morning just hours earlier and said he's dead and then hung up, correct?
No, I don't believe I said it at that point. I did not remember that until a couple of days later.
I see. And in fact, when you were asked about that particular statement, when you asked about that particular series of events, that never came to your mind.
No.
That literally the first words out of Karen Reed's mouth, according to you now, is he's dead and then hung up.
Correct.
When you heard that, you didn't take that to mean that she killed him.
No.
Of course not. She was panicked, correct?
Yes.
You did add that, one other thing that you didn't add in your initial statement to Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico is anything about the taillight either, correct?
Not.
Okay. And you also didn't say anything about any sort of a Google search or the praying that you talked about in the back of the patrol car, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember.
The second time you were interviewed, that was the February 1st interview. That was with Kathleen Prince and Connor Keith, correct? And you just looked at that report, at least part of that report. Is that right?
Say it again?
Connor Keith and Kathleen Prince, that was on February 1st, 3 days after your initial statement, correct?
I don't remember the date, but I remember meeting with them.
Okay. I want to make sure I get the dates down, so I'm sorry to belabor this, but... May I approach?
Yes.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were looking at the report of that interview?
It might.
Okay. First paragraph.
Thanks. Am I reading the whole thing or just the part where you dotted?
Just if it refreshes your recollection
Oh.
of the dates.
Oh, for the date, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What date was it that you met with him?
February 1st.
That second interview was conducted at 12 Country.
With Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, you can pick up the tab even when you forget your wallet. I got this.
Fargo, send Kaz $145 to Zelle.
Smooth. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Hi, I'm Brett.
And I'm Jonathan.
This is Darla.
And this is Buddy.
We're the founders of the Farmer's Dog.
We've made an entirely new way to feed your dog.
It all started with my first.
Was conducted at 12 Country Lane, correct?
Yes.
And who again lives at 12 Country Lane?
Jennifer McCabe.
So the second time you told your memory, your story to law enforcement, you were literally sitting in Jennifer McCabe's house.
Yes.
And you had met with Jennifer McCabe before your interview, correct?
Yes. We were putting a timeline together.
So you two were actually prepping, if that's a valid term, prepping for your interview, putting a timeline together, correct?
We were putting a timeline together at the request of Mrs. O'Keefe.
And Jennifer McCabe, was helping you with the timeline, and you were helping her with the timeline.
Yes, we were putting together the events of what had happened.
So she was helping you, and you were helping her, yes or no?
Yes,
Okay. So both of you were assisting in each other's memories, correct?
yes,
I remember this, and you remember this, and okay, now I remember this, correct?
yep,
Obviously, that would help influence your memory, going
Yes.
over the event with someone else, correct?
yep,
So what's on that timeline, you would agree, is not completely independent, your memory. It's a combination of your memory and Jennifer McCabe's memory. Isn't that right?
yes.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the two of you drew out some sort of a timeline for you to follow during the course of that interview. Is that right?
For me to follow what?
During the course of that February 1st interview, as you were interviewed in Ms. McCabe's house. I mean, that was the purpose of the timeline, to help you with that interview.
No, that wasn't the purpose of the timeline.
You used it for that purpose, though, obviously.
We did not. I was at Jen's house making a timeline, and the two officers showed up to interview her. I just happened to be there.
Right. And when they interviewed you, did you have that timeline in front of you? That's my question.
No, I did not.
Okay. But you had just created it along with Jennifer McCabe.
Some of it.
Okay. And then it was after that that this timeline was coordinated between the two of you, that you actually told your second story to Trooper Prince. And when I say second story, I mean the second time you were interviewed on February 1st as opposed to January 29th. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever become aware of text messages that Jennifer McCabe was sending to others in a group chat talking about you in that interview?
No.
You were never told or became aware that she sent text messages to a group as she listened in on your interview?
No. I don't think she could listen in. She wasn't anywhere near me.
You weren't aware that or are you aware as you sit here that she sent a text message that said she's telling them everything, all the stuff?
Sustained.
Have you ever been provided a text message or told about a text message that perhaps Jennifer McCabe was sending to a group?
No.
Listening to your suggesting that she was listening to your interview?
No.
The third time you told your story was later that night in a telephonic interview. Is that right? With Trooper Proctor?
I requested to speak to Trooper Proctor because I had remembered the very first time I spoke with Karen that morning, and I wanted to make sure it was recorded.
Okay. That wasn't my question. My question was, did you have another telephonic conversation with Trooper Proctor, yes or no?
You said that night, but it wasn't that night.
When was it?
I think it was earlier that day.
Okay. But it was after the interview with Trooper Prince.
I don't think so.
I think it was beforehand?
I think it was beforehand.
You were still with Jennifer McCabe when that call took place, correct?
I was in her house. I was not with her. I stepped away to speak to him by myself.
In her home at 12 Country Lane.
Correct.
Who else was with you other than Jennifer McCabe in the house?
Her sister was there writing down the timeline for
Who's
us.
that?
Her sister, Denise.
Denise? So she was scribing the timeline as you and Jennifer McCabe were creating
She
it?
was writing it down as we were remembering things.
Right. And the three of you were doing this together, sort of communally.
Yes.
She would say something, then you would say something, then it would spark something that she would say, and back and forth, correct?
Yes.
How is it that Trooper Proctor got a hold of you? Did you call him or did he call you?
I think he was on the phone with Jen, and I asked to speak to him.
So Trooper Proctor got a hold of you through talking to Jen McCabe.
Well, I asked to speak to him, but yes.
Right. Was that interview recorded, to your knowledge?
I don't know.
The fourth time you met with police was February 2nd, the very next day, at about 12:08 p.m. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Do you remember signing a consent form for your phone?
Yes.
Was that the next day after this interview with Trooper Prince and Trooper
I don't know
Keith?
what day it was. It was right after Karen was arraigned for the first time. Jen and I met with them and both handed our phones over willingly.
So you've just answered my question. So when you met with police, whatever the date was, it was a few days later, you met with police. You had a fourth time. You were still in the presence of Jennifer McCabe when you met with police.
Yes.
And handed your phone over. Is that right?
Yes.
She handed her phone over. Is that right?
Yes.
And the two of you were together when you signed your consent forms. Is that right?
Yes.
The fifth time you told your story was in front of a grand jury. Is that right?
I don't know.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury?
I do.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Before you testified at that grand jury, just physically, you were brought into an anteroom where you waited to be called by ADA Adam Lally, correct?
Yes.
Who was in that anteroom with you just before you gave your testimony?
My husband and Jen and Matt McCabe.
So Jennifer McCabe was with you yet again just before you gave
Yeah.
official testimony under oath concerning this case and concerning the incident.
Correct.
Ms. Roberts, when was the last time you've spoken to Jennifer McCabe before you testified in this trial?
In this morning.
Did you discuss your testimony?
No.
So you and Ms. McCabe, who became friends
Correct.
because of this incident,
Correct.
talked as recently as this morning before your testimony,
Correct.
and your testimony now is that you did not discuss anything about what you're doing here
No,
or what you're going
I
to
did
testify
not. She
to.
called to wish me good luck today.
When did you talk to her the last time before this morning?
I don't know, maybe a couple of days ago? I don't remember.
Within days of you taking the stand yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever... May I have just a moment?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, I'm going to ask you, to take a look at, actually, let me ask it a different way. Did you say that you did or did not recall texting with Jen McCabe during the course of that January 29th interview with state police? Do you recall that or no?
No.
Okay.
During the interview, I didn't text anybody.
Okay. Are you saying you didn't text anybody, or you don't recall?
I don't recall. I don't think I had I wouldn't be texting somebody if I was being interviewed by the state police.
Right. Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at a report of text messages?
Sure.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Need a UGC video for your business? Find me and many other skilled creators on Fiverr. Or you could grab a top camera, add good lighting to make everything pop. Learn the latest trends, stay updated, videos change fast. Plan your content, be consistent and creative. Know your platforms, adapt your content. Each one's different. Edit like a pro, cut, trim, and polish. Make it shine, but not too shine. It's still user-generated content. Or just find your next creator on Fiverr.
Today is the beginning of something big. A change in how you manage your weight, thicker, fuller hair, and control over your anxiety and depression. It starts with small steps. A tap at forhers.com, a new part of your routine, a little moment for you. Coming together to make big changes. Through Hers, you can get access to personalized treatment plans for weight loss, hair loss, anxiety, and more. Connect with a licensed medical provider today. Get started at forhers.com.
Thank you. South. May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look. There's two tabs. Take a look at the tabs and the data across the two tabs, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm in no rush. So, may I?
Yes.
Take this back? Your Honor, with court permission, Mr. Brennan,
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch if you'd like. And I forgot to tell you, anytime we're at sidebar, please feel free to stand up and stretch, okay?
That was quicker than we thought, Judge. May I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take a look at this document?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that there were two text messages at around the time of your interview with those two troopers?
No.
Do you recall, as you sit here, texting Ms. McCabe that the state troopers were arriving or they're just getting there?
No.
Do you recall Ms. McCabe texting you anything back about calling me after?
No.
Okay. Did you, in fact, different question, did you, in fact, call Ms. McCabe right after the interview and talk to her?
I don't know.
Have you ever testified that at the scene, Miss Reed was seated in the back of a patrol car along with Jennifer McCabe, and you were standing just outside the car, and there was an interaction among the three of you?
Yes.
Have you ever testified, or have you ever stated, in any particular, that during that interaction, Karen asked the three of you to pray?
Yes.
Have you ever said or testified that during that interaction where you're seated, where they are seated in the back of the patrol car and Miss Reed asked you to pray, that Miss Reed said to Jennifer McCabe, Google hypothermia?
No.
You've never said that?
I've never said that.
You testified at the grand jury on April 26th. Is that right? April 26th, 2022?
I do not know.
Right? Does that sound right? April 26th, 2022?
I have no idea.
Late April 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know. It was 2022.
You testified under oath, correct?
Hmm? Yes,
Swore the same oath that you swore here.
yes,
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, like penalty of perjury. Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I needed. Is it your testimony that you have never said that Karen told Jen to Google hypothermia, or that you don't recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at portion of your grand jury testimony from that day?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. And if you could read on to page 83 as well.
Yep. I testified. I didn't hear it, but I was told that she was asked to Google it.
You testified under oath at the grand jury that at some point Karen was in back of the police cruiser, correct?
Yep.
Objection.
No, I'll allow that question.
Does that refresh your recollection as to what you told the grand jury?
Yes.
And isn't it true that at some point during the course of your testimony under oath, you said that Karen was in the back of the police cruiser?
Yes.
And then you went on to describe that Karen and Jen and I were standing outside, and she made us all start holding hands and starting to pray.
Yes.
I mean, the she being Karen Reed, correct?
Yes.
And at this point, they had lifted John up and taken him onto the gurney, correct? That's
I don't
what you
know.
described.
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to do this again, just so we're clear. May I approach?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Just a portion of the bottom of the page.
At the bottom?
At the bottom, last couple of paragraphs.
Okay. Yep. I say I think, so I'm not
I have
positive.
a question for you.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And you testified basically that you think, at least that's what you were telling the grand jurors, that you
Yep.
think that was the point at which they lifted John up
Yes.
and moved him into the ambulance, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
And then you were asked a question, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, correct? Objection.
Do you recall that?
I did not hear the question about Google being asked.
That's not my question. May I ask? May I inquire?
Just repeat that question.
Sure. Isn't it true that you were next asked by Mr. Lally in front of the grand jury, quote, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, end quote. Do you remember being asked that question?
No.
May I approach? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to look at lines 16 through 18.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection? That was the question that you were asked?
Yes.
Okay. And in response to that question, you stated, quote, at one point she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long Google hypothermia. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That was very detailed, you'll agree, that that's a very detailed and specific recount of an event. You recounted where you were, back of a cruiser, or they were in the back of a cruiser, correct?
Yep.
You recorded or reported the time. It was right around the time that you thought they were lifting John up and scooped him up onto the gurney, correct?
Yep. I thought it was about that time. I wasn't sure.
Location,
I'm sorry, I didn't get that answer. You were talking over each other.
that's my mistake.
What was your answer, Ms.
I
Roberts?
thought it was about the time they lifted him up, but I wasn't sure.
You were very detailed about who was there. It was you. It was Jen. It was my client, Kerry
Yes.
Reed, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
You were so detailed that you talked about where you were standing next to the cruiser open door, correct?
Yes.
What the others were doing, holding hands and praying, is that right?
Yes.
And the actual words used. You were as detailed about all of that as the actual words used. She asked her to Google hypothermia and how long, and then you stopped, Google hypothermia, end quote, correct?
Correct.
You will agree, at least for that purpose, you painted a very, very detailed picture in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
Yeah.
Except it's not true, is it?
I did not hear her ask that. I was told she was asked that. In
The
the
answer to my question, Ms. Roberts, and I'm not a trick question, what you told the grand jurors was not true. You never heard her, my client, ask anyone to Google anything, did you?
I did not.
And yet, that's what you testified to under oath, under penalty of perjury, in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
I did.
And the reason you did that, the reason that you said that false statement, was because someone told you to say it, correct?
Object.
Is that, I'm going to let her answer that.
Nobody told me to say it. I knew it happened at that time,
How did you
which
know
is
it
why I
happened?
said it.
How did you know it happened, Miss Roberts, if no one told you it happened?
Because we wrote a timeline. We already spoke about
So
that.
the timeline that Jennifer McCabe helped you with, that influenced your testimony in front of the grand jury, correct? Obviously.
I was telling what happened in the back of the cruiser.
The timeline
Can answer.
you wrote,
So when you ask a question, let her answer, okay?
the timeline you wrote, with Jennifer McCabe's help, influenced your testimony to testify in front of the grand jurors to a statement that you never heard, correct?
Yes.
You were later asked about that statement in another investigation, by another investigator or set of investigators, correct?
I don't know.
Were you interviewed by a different law enforcement agency, a separate law enforcement agency from the Massachusetts State Police at any time?
Yes.
And you were told that to lie to those agents would be a crime, correct?
Yes.
Punishable by prison, correct?
I was not told that.
They asked you whether or not you heard Karen Reed ever say anything to Jennifer McCabe about Googling anything, correct?
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you told them what you've just now told us, which is, I did not hear Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to conduct any Google searches?
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of that